All right, we are recording. Good afternoon, everyone. We are so excited you could be here for our Google Fridays. We have a lot of things going on today, and we're just excited to share it with you. Presenting today will be Kristen Waring. If you have any questions for her, just put them in the chat box, or you can send her a message later on. I will be moderating. My name is Mariah again. Any questions that you have, we will answer them either throughout or at the end, whenever it feels appropriate to do so. But feel free to use that chat box. And of course, please remember to mute yourself so that way we can all pay attention and hear Kristen clearly. So, Kristen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mariah. And once again, I want to say welcome to our Google Friday series. Today's session is titled Getting to Know Google, an Introduction to G Suite for Education. One thing that I want to point out is that many of you may already be part of our state run G Suite for Education account. If you are using an nmdaorg email or you have your students sign up with nmdaorg emails, that is because you're participating in our state-run G Suite for Education domain. There are several other programs throughout the state that have their own G Suite for Education accounts, and that's fine. That's okay. The benefit for being part of the state-run, state-administered G Suite for Education program is that we do the administrative part for you, and you just get to have the fun and use the tools. So I will be showing you how to sign up for a free G Suite account with your program if you choose. However, I want to encourage you, if you're not already participating with our nmdaorg domain for G Suite for Education, please let us know, contact us, and we will help you get started with that. So let's go to the next slide here, and we are going to do a poll everywhere. So Mariah is going to put the link up in the chat for you. If you're on a computer or even on your phone, you can click on the link and it will take you to where you can answer these questions. If you would choose to use texting, you can send it to the address for the text would be 22333, and in the body of that text, you're going to type in Kristen, Kristen, WARIN 019. And it looks like somebody says that the link is not working. Let's see what happens here. So it looks like you're going to have to copy and paste it into your browser. Not sure why it's not creating a link today. So if you just copy and paste what Mariah put in the chat, put it into your browser and click enter, it should take you there, and it says start the presentation to see the live oh my goodness. Okay, hang on a second. Let's get out of here. And it looks like I need to start it. So hang on just a second. Let's back up a slide here. See, these technical problems occur and we all learn as we go. So give me just a second. And it should. Let's get to that slide. Okay. Okay, now it should work. Go ahead and give it a try again. Well, it says it's working, and I don't see any responses. So let's move this over here, and we'll look at it on this screen, and you can see the responses. Okay, so the question is on here. Tell us your favorite Google tools. So I see just Google Presentations, Classroom, Documents, and let's see, do we have anything else coming in? Show responses. Well, this is not cooperating. So I'll tell you what, why don't you go ahead and type your favorite tools into the chat, and we'll share them that way. So some of the tools, like we said, Google Presentations. If you look on this nice ball here, we've got Calendar, we've got Gmail, we've got Sheets and Forms and Search and YouTube. Do you know that YouTube is part of Google? So we have lots of different things here. We've got, let's see, what else is on here? Voice calling. We've got things like uh, the chat features like Hangouts and Google Meet, which we're using now. So lots of different tools. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. I see Meet, Docs, Calendar, Hangouts, Meet, Gmail, Docs, YouTube, all sorts of fun tools. So those are all part of the G Suite or Gmail's suite of tools. But you might say, why use G Suite? Okay, for one thing, G Suite is FERPA compliant. And if you go on to the website, which I'm going to show you in a minute, it specifically states on there that it is FERPA compliant. So for all of us that have to follow those guidelines to protect our students' privacy, this is a way to do that and still be able to use these Google tools. If you were doing your classwork and your class activities through the regular Google emails, it doesn't have quite as much protection. So G Suite for Education was put together to transform how educators and students learn, work, and innovate with free, secure tools from G Suite for Education. So I have a link on here, Explore G Suite for Education, and we're just going to go over there for a minute. Now, this is the Google website for G Suite. And I just want to show you, you'll be able to look at this later on your own. But you've got several different tabs up here. Teaching resources, I think, is great. And I'm going to show you that in more detail in a minute. Products. You can look at products specifically for G Suite for Education, or you can look at individual products like Google Classroom. How to do assignments, things like that. Some of Google's tools, like Jamboard, I'm not super familiar with that. It is a paid site for them, so I haven't explored that. But things like Classroom is free. It's a free online management tool. Chromebooks, if you're using Chromebooks with your students, Chromebooks integrates perfectly with Google Tools and G Suite to create a great, easy online environment for your students to work in. But the good thing about G Suite and Google Tools is that they really work with any internet capable online platform. So why Google? You can go in and read this, different reasons to use Google, but I'm not going to take up all your time doing that. I'm going to let you do that on your own. As we scroll down, we can talk about collaboration. One of the big points with Google is that they make collaboration easy between student to student or student to teacher or colleague to colleague. It's a great tool to be able to use for that collaboration and communication. You can create opportunities for learning, streamline administrative tasks, challenge your students to think critically, and all without disrupting the current workflows. So it's really a good tool to have. If we scroll down a little bit, what I wanted to show you on here is you have some overviews of each of the tools down here towards the bottom. And we'll look at those in a minute on my presentation. But if you come all the way down here to the bottom, somewhere down here, where did it go? Provide feedback, make learning enriching. Okay, that must have been on a different sheet. But so what we're going to do is look at it through teaching resources. If I click on teaching resources, I can go to view all resources. And this is something new that I just discovered. On this page, you have different ideas for different activities that you can use with your students using Google Tools. We've got creativity tools, things that you can do with Chromebooks. What I really like is the applied digital skills. If you were in our webinar a couple weeks ago with Tina Height, she explored the applied digital skills, and there's a link here to lesson plans. A Google a day. This is teaching students how to search online. It changes every day and there's a different search. It's something you can challenge your students with. Games and lesson plans. If we click on that, you've got your video here and some different things that you can do. Teaching your students to code, be an internet alert. These are all kind of things about being safe on the internet. So you can look at these kind of things. But there's a lot of different information on here that can really help you. So the link for that, if you want to go and explore, is just edu.google.com. And there's just way too much stuff on here for me to go over with you all right now. But it's a great place to go to find out more about what G Suite can do for you. So let's go back here. And so, right here. Okay, so G Suite for Education. The actual suite of tools includes the tools that you see on your screen. And many of you may already use these tools, but we're going to just kind of do a quick overview of each of them and how you can use them with your class, what they can do for you. Classroom is a big one. Classroom is for G Suite for Education. It's specifically for G Suite. Drive, a place where you can store a cloud-based storage system for all of your stuff and your students as well. Gmail, Hangouts, we'll go over. Hangouts is changing a little bit, so we'll go over that. Of course, there's docs, sheets, and slides, which are comparable to Microsoft's products of Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and PowerPoint. So they're a little different, but they're free, which is great for our students and can be used just about anywhere. Google Forms, we did that in the webinar last week. If you didn't see our webinar, it should be on the nmdaorg site, and you can go and rewatch that and see some really interesting things that you can do with Google Forms. Google Calendar integrates with all of these other tools to make a great time management location and tool for you and your students to use. Google Sites is for building websites. And the great thing about G Suite for Education is even though it's free, it still comes with one-on-one support from a Google for Education partner. So anytime there's issues, we have somewhere to go to get help with those issues. All right, so technology. We've all kind of had a crash course in technology in the last couple months with this stay-at-home order and having to do our work online. But even before that, people were saying that technology is transforming the way that we teach and the way that we learn. It's important to include technology learning in your classrooms, which again, by default, we kind of have to do now. But when we go back to face-to-face classes, if we do, um, it's important to keep that technology in the classroom because they're going to need it. Students are going to need that in the real world, to help them become creative problem solvers and collaborators and to be able to function in most of the jobs that they do. According to the CEO of Google, technology alone will not improve education, but it can be a powerful part of the solution for improving education. So we want to focus on that technology. Let's just start looking at some of these Google tools that come with G Suite for Education. As I said, the big one is Google Classroom. Um, so why use Google Classroom? For one thing, it's free. Okay, there's a lot of learning management platforms out there, some free, some not. What we really like about it is it's easy to use on all mobile devices. It works on cell phones, it works on tablets, it works on computers. Pretty much any internet accessible mobile device can run most of the Google tools. Um, it's easy to learn and use. Okay. I think some people might agree with me and some people not so much, but I feel that it's easy to learn and use. Sometimes we need a little bit of help, but there's a lot of help out there. You can Google, Google, you can look up just about any of the Google tools online and find several articles on how to use them, ideas on things to use with them, to do with them. And if you go to YouTube, there's not a tool that I haven't found at least 2 or 3 different YouTube videos that talk you through step by step how to use them. So, and then of course you have us, the distance learning support team. We're here to help you as well. So don't forget that if you do have any questions or need help with any of your Google technology tools, feel free to contact us and we'll be happy to help you out with that. And then Google Classroom, you can do things, you can create several different classes. If you want to do a math class and a reading class and a science class and a writing class, you can have as many classes as you want. Or you can have everything in one class. There's lots of different ways to set up a classroom in Google Classroom program in general. So you can create classes, you can distribute assignments to your students, you can give quizzes. In fact, it has a new part to it where you can create a quiz directly in your assignment rather than creating it outside and then uploading it to your assignment. So you can do quizzes, you can give feedback, and you can see everything in one place. And I think the best thing about Google Classroom is it allows you to use all these other tools that we're going to be talking about together in one place, to create a very dynamic set of assignments, classes, things like that. So Google Classroom is a very good tool to use. Google Drive. So Google Drive is a file storage system. Basically, everything that you need to store can be stored in Google Drive. And the good thing about Google Drive is it synchronizes all of your stuff together, keeps everything together, and allows you to store files on Google servers. Sometimes we call it the cloud. If you're not familiar with that term, it just means that rather than storing all of your files on your computer, on the hard drive of your computer, or even on a little flash drive like we've done traditionally where we store stuff and carry that with us, and if you're like me, tend to lose it very easily. This allows you to store it in their cloud, in Google servers, where it's accessible from any other internet-ready device that you use. So if you create something on your computer at work and you need to access it at home, you can do that. If you have the apps on your phone and you're out traveling somewhere and you need to look up something that you stored in your drive, it's right there at your fingertips, stored in the cloud and accessible through your cell phone. So it makes storage very simple. And I like to think of it as just a giant file cabinet. If you actually saw my Google Drive, I have folder upon folder upon folder in there. but it allows me to organize. So I might have a folder for my adult ed classes, and I have a folder for my personal stuff, and I have a folder for my professional development stuff. And if I do anything else, I can create another folder, and it allows me to keep everything organized in its own separate little places. Um, Google Drive, in addition to letting you organize your documents and your students as well, because they have access to their own Google Drive, it allows you to share either individual files, or you can share entire folders with other people that have Google. You can assign, edit. You can choose to let people see what you've done in either an edit format or a view only format. Okay. If you give them editing rights to it, it means that they can collaborate on that document with you. They can get on at the same time you are or at a different time, and they can make changes to your document, which you'll see when you log on. Um, Alternately, if you give them the view only permissions when you're sharing with people, they can look and see what you've done, but they cannot make changes to it. So you can share in that way. So it gives you a little bit of leeway on how you share documents or folders. Um, you can create documents or the other applications like spreadsheets and presentations directly in Google Drive. You do not have to open a completely different application in order to do it, which makes things kind of easy and consolidated there. You can upload and download files and folders. So if you have things that you have created in Microsoft Word, you can upload it into your drive and it will save it in the Microsoft format so that from some other location you can still access that document. And so you can upload in many different formats. It also has the ability to convert from Microsoft format to Google format if that's something that needs to be done. So that if, for instance, somebody sends you or a student a document that is created in in Microsoft Word, but they don't have Microsoft Word on their computer, they can save it into Google Drive and then open it or download it as a Google Docs paper so that they can actually view that without having to purchase Microsoft Word. So again, it makes Google a very versatile tool. And then, of course, we've already said that before, you can access Google Drive from any internet-ready device or any internet accessible device. So pretty much from wherever you're at. So Google Drive is a nice storage tool. Um, Google has also addressed the communication issue. So you can communicate your way. We're going to look at the 4 different kinds of communication that Google has right now. Email, chat, video, and I'll tell you why it's 4 in just a second here. So Gmail. Most of you are familiar with Gmail, maybe not through G Suite for Education, but through regular Gmail. Gmail is Google's free web-based email service. Okay, your emails are stored in the cloud, like we talked about earlier, and you can that you can access your email from any computer or other device that has access to the web, to the internet. You can also quickly organize and find important emails. You can add your own signatures if you want to come out to be attached to each of your outgoing emails, should you choose, or you can leave that blank if you want to. You can read emails, you can send emails, you can make drafts and save them for later. So that if you're having to write something and you don't have an internet connection, you can write your email and save it until you do have internet and then send it at that time. So lots of stuff that you can do with Gmail. That's their internet platform. Now, Hangouts. Hangouts is changing, and you may have, if you follow any of the Google stuff, you may have heard that Hangouts is going away. They are working on transforming Hangouts However, because of the popularity, the classic Google Hangouts is still available. So if you have the classic Google Hangouts app on your phone, you don't have to switch to anything else. However, there is a more advanced version of this called Chat. Okay, and I'm going to switch over to that. So Chat, you can see the difference. Chat has this little @ sign in it. Classic Google Hangouts has the quotation marks in it. Um, they work pretty much the same way. However, you might have noticed in your email that where it once said in the bottom left-hand corner, it once said Hangouts, now it says Chat. And really, that's the only surface difference that you'll see right now. But with Google Chat, they've added a few things to it. So you can go into your Play Store or your, if you have Apple, into your Apple Store, and you can download the new app, which is called Google Chat. And Google Chat is set up more for using with teams or for projects. They're trying to compete with some of the other chat systems and communication systems that are out there and keep up with the times. So what they've done with Google Chat is they've added a place where you can create a virtual room, where in that room you can have your threaded discussions on a specific topic. So in the past, if you have a group in Google Hangouts and you guys are talking about something, you have to be able to scroll way back up to find something that happened a week ago or you talked about a week ago. With this new app, it allows you to take a specific topic, move it into a room, and have a threaded discussion, which means it makes it easier to find things that happened earlier in that chat. I have not had a lot of experience with this yet, but I plan to explore it a little bit more. It looks really interesting. So what they did is they divided the chat part into Google Chat, and with Google Hangouts, they took the face-to-face video calling and they put that into Google Meet. So that's where that division came up. They decided to spread this out. So the other chat forum that you can use and that we're using right now is Google Meet. Google Meet is designed more for group calls, meetings, online classes. A lot of us have been debating. I've heard several different groups of people debating the pros and cons of using Google Meet versus using Zoom versus using some other online forums for all of our online classes now. I have stuck with Google Meet mainly because I do everything Google and it all kind of, like I said earlier, works together. It does have some ups and downs. Google Meet does not at this time have breakout rooms like Zoom does, but there are other ways around that with Google, and Google Meet is free. So the one thing that they have done to accommodate us for this stay-at-home time is they've given us the paid version of Google Meet for free up until I believe the end of September at this point. And what that does is it allows us to have up to 250 people in our meetings. Now, I know that most of you don't have 250 people in your class, and I think that would be a little insane. But in the past, with some of the online systems, when you get 5 or 6 people in there, you start having bandwidth issues and things getting fuzzy. I've been on Google Meets with up to 25 or 30 people in them and haven't had any problems like that. So I have yet to try it with 250 people, but they say we can do it. So there you are. So the 3 chat things. Google Hangouts is not going away, but it has been expanded and has more functionality in Google Chat. And Google Meet is there for our face-to-face meetings and things like that. So you've got all different forms of communication available with Google tools. Um, the next ones we want to look at are the doc sheets, slides, and forms. Um, collaboration. Collaboration is a big deal, especially in online learning. We want our students to be able to do those interactive activities where they, work on something together, or they maybe do peer reviews of each other's work, or different things like that. We all have different ideas of lessons and things that can use collaboration. So what G Suite has done, what Google has done, is they have all of these tools and they've made them available to be able to either be done individually, to collaborate with one other person on the same document, or to even have multiple people all working on the same document or slide or any of these things at the same time. Um, it lets you streamline administrative tasks. It lets you challenge your students because, let's face it, just giving them a video or a little lesson and worksheets is not super challenging and really not very exciting for them. Um, and if that's all that we can do in an online class, it's hard to keep our students engaged. So by having these different tools, it allows us to make things more interesting, to increase that student engagement that we're all looking for, and still be able to get everything done. So down here in the bottom sentence, you can co-edit documents, spreadsheets, presentations in real time. That means that with the share feature in a Google Doc, you can have two different people working on it exactly the same time, or you can have an entire class working on that document at the same time, which makes for a really interesting lesson. So let's just look at each one individually here. Google Docs is our cloud-based word processing application. Okay, as I said earlier, it's very similar to Microsoft Word. There's not quite as many bells and whistles to the Google tools as there might be in Microsoft, but again, it's free. And really, for students that have never had much exposure to online tools, having a little bit less stuff to do in all the toolbars makes it a little bit easier to learn. So with Google Docs, they can create, edit, and share documents. You can use it to create worksheets to share with your students, or lesson planning, any of that. As I said, it's similar to Microsoft Word. You can collaborate synchronously or asynchronously on a shared document. And I think I mentioned that earlier, where you can be working on it in real time, or you can share it and one person can make changes and somebody else can log on later and comment or make changes, and you can go back and forth that way, whichever works. And that's nice for teaching as well as for activities for the students. And then it can easily be downloaded as a Word document or a PDF. So I told you earlier that with Drive, you can upload Word documents. With Docs, you can keep it in the Google Doc format, or you can, if necessary, download it into a Word format. And they're very interchangeable. Then we have Google Sheets. So Google Sheets is similar to Microsoft Excel. It's a spreadsheet application. Again, it's cloud-based, so anything that you do is going to be saved in the cloud and easily accessible. It works on any device. I have used these spreadsheets on my cell phone. I've used them on tablets. I've used them on computers. It works very well in any of those situations. There are apps in both Android and iOS. And again, you can collaborate synchronously or asynchronously on a shared spreadsheet. It can be easily downloaded as an Excel spreadsheet or a PDF. Just an example of this, in my program, we use these as our attendance sheets. So our instructors can input the attendance directly onto this sheet. And then the sheet is also shared with our data person so that she can monitor attendance and enter it in LACES or ask questions or any of the stuff that needs to be done. So multiple people can be looking at this. Some people, the instructors have editing access, so they can add things to the sheet and change it. The data person only has view only, so that she's not making changes, but she can view the information that's on there. So you can share it in different ways with different people depending on what you're using it for. And then we have Google Slides. Google Slides is similar to PowerPoint. It's a presentation software. It's what I use to create this presentation that you're looking at right now. You can build powerful, professional-looking slide presentations. It's actually really fun to have your students teach your students how to use this and give them an activity where they're presenting their information to you in a Google Slide presentation. It's easy for them to use. It's a great skill and can be used with lots of different subjects and activities. Changes are visible as they happen. So if you're looking at something maybe that a student is working on and they're updating or making changes on it, you can see it in real time as it's happening. And changes are saved automatically. Now, I didn't put that in any of the others, but that's one of the benefits of using Google, I think, over using Microsoft, is that you don't have to hit save. As soon as you do something on a Google Doc or a sheet, within a couple of seconds, it's saved. And for those of you that may be living in more rural areas where when we have storms, we have power outages, this can be a good thing because I don't know about you, but when I was in college, I lost a lot of material to power outages. So this was a good improvement, I think, because you don't lose anything if your power goes out or if your 3-year-old happens to walk by and push the off button on your computer. So I like that Google saves everything automatically. And then the last one, like I said, we just did a webinar on this last week on Google Forms. So if you want to see it, you can go back to our archives on the nmdaorg website and see these webinars. But Google Forms is a wonderful tool. You can create and analyze surveys right in your mobile web or web browser. And you don't have to download any special software for it. You get instant results as they come in. So if you make a survey in Google Forms or a questionnaire or a quiz, you can be looking at the response sheet as people are filling out the forms, and you can see in real time, it will populate as people are filling out the form and answering it. Google Forms, I mentioned when we were talking about Google Classroom that they have a new tool or a new part of it that allows you to create tests directly in Google Classroom, and that is with Google Forms. So it has in the create area, it has create a quiz. And if you create a quiz, it opens up a Google form in quiz format and allows you to create your quiz right there. Google Forms has the ability now to do self-correcting quizzes, which means if you make a multiple choice quiz, you can put the answers in there, and as the students answer the question, it will tell them if they got it correct or incorrect. And so different ways, you can either give them an opportunity to do it again if they got it incorrectly, or you can just tell them that was incorrect and move on to the next question. So there's a lot of variables there that you can do when creating quizzes. And the other thing that I like about Google Forms is they have a new response area. In the past, the responses have always gone directly to a Google sheet, a spreadsheet. So you can still do that. You can see your responses in spreadsheet form, but you can also see a summary of all the responses from your form in a graphic form. You've got pie charts and bar graphs and things like that. It's very colorful and very visually appealing to see the results in that way. So Google Forms, there's a lot of things you can do with Google Forms. Then we have Google Calendar. I'm sure how many of you use Google Calendar on a regular basis? If you do, go ahead and just put it in the chat. 'Cause I think Google Calendar is a really great tool to have. Um, it's a time management and scheduling service, and I added the massive proportions because I just think it's really wonderful. I have Google Calendar on my phone, also on my computer. Um, and on my Google Calendar, I have many different individual calendars. Um, and so I have one calendar set up for my personal family activities. I have another one that's titled work schedule, and it has all of my work schedule on it. Since I'm part of the PD team, I have a schedule for that and all the stuff that I'm part of for the PD team. And it looks like Guillermo says they use it for all their meetings in nmdaorg and at Clovis Community College. So they're using that to schedule team meetings and things like that, as well as um, probably classroom type stuff. The good thing about this is it's also integrated into Google Classroom. So if you create a Google Classroom, it automatically creates a Google Calendar to go along with it. So your students have a way of looking at a calendar. And if you're using due dates, they can look at it and they can see what dates their assignments are due on an actual big calendar. Um, so it's another way to use it. You can also share calendars. So if you create, for instance, my work calendar with my work schedule on it, it's shared with my supervisor and shared with other colleagues that need to know when I'm working and when I'm not. And they can toggle that on and off on their screen. If somebody needs to say, hey, when's Kristen working? They can click on it, toggle it on and see my schedule, and then turn it off again so that it doesn't clutter up their calendar. So it's a really good thing to use to keep track of stuff. Um, for my online students, especially since we've been doing this stay-at-home stuff, the very first assignment I have them do when they start my class is a time management assignment. And the end product of that time management assignment is that they're filling out their own personal Google Calendar to include their class times and their study times and their personal responsibilities as well, so that they can see when they have time to get their work done and that they do have time to get their work done. So a lot of different things that you can do with Google Calendar. Okay. One of the last tools I'm going to talk about is Google Sites. So this is also part of G Suite. Google Sites is available with a regular Gmail account as well. So if you ever want to just make a personal website to either publish out on the web or just something that's maybe to share with your family, things like that, you can do that. But Google Sites is also available within our domain through nmdaorg, and it allows you to have a secure place that you can share information with students, or students can share with you or with each other. Google Sites, building a website can be a good project for students. It can be a place where you can showcase work or share different types of work that the students have done with each other, and you can either put names to it or not, depending on what you're doing. But using it within nmdaorg allows you to keep it to where it's only available to people with a link and only available to people within that domain. So it helps protect that student privacy, keeps us within the FERPA guidelines, and lets you still have an online presence with your students. So Google Sites, I believe we'll be doing a webinar in Google Sites sometime next month. I'm not sure when yet, or possibly in July. But if that's something you're interested in, you can be looking for that. Um, and as it says on here, you can unleash your students' creativity. Letting them create a website is, again, a learning experience as far as technology goes and learning a new technology skill. But it can also be a really great way to present a project or a research, any kind of research project or something that you want them to share with other students. So Google Sites, our website builder. And then the last thing I have, so we're just about done here. I just want to put this URL up here again for you, edu.google.com. It is that website we were looking at earlier. It has links on here if your program wants to create their own G Suite for Education account. Although, like I said, most, I'd say probably about half to 3/4 of the adult ed programs in the state are currently using the domain under nmdaorg. And partly because it's just easier. You don't have to worry about all the administration parts of it. You can let us do that, and you can just have the tools and all the fun stuff that you can do. So if you want to go to that website and check out some of the information on there, there's some really good stuff. There's the resources I was looking for earlier. So explore teaching resources, coding, creativity tools, language arts, digital literacy. There's all sorts of stuff on there that might be of interest to you. There's also a section on here that I saw that was talking about COVID resources that are available now that I guess that's up here under Learn More. So go check it out. It's a good place to go. And so now I am going to open it up to any questions, or I'd love to hear some of your ideas of things that you do or you would like to try with some of these Google tools. So you can either unmute your mic and just ask the question, or you're welcome to type it into the chat if you have a question or idea, and Mariah or I will read it and try to answer it. Okay, so if there are no questions, I just wanted to point out one more thing before you go. We are having our Google Fridays, and we're going to try to continue that through June and through July, as well as other webinars on other days of the week. We really appreciate your support. If you're unable to attend one of the webinars that you would like to hear, you can usually find them on the nmdelt website. If Mariah, if you'll type that in, it's just www.nmdaorg. You could go in there. There's also a lot of resources for teaching and learning. There's the links to our webinars. And you can also link to the webinars that we've already done. Coming up next Friday, I'm going to change tactics a little bit. We're going to do, I don't know if any of you have heard of breakouts. They've been at several of the conventions we've gone to over the past few years. But a breakout it's kind of a game. You can use it with lots of different subjects. So what I'm going to do is we are going to play a breakout game. So it'll be a little bit different. You don't have to just sit there and listen to me talk. We will play a breakout game using Google Tools. And I will also show you how to find the resources to create those yourselves for a variety of different topics. Because as boring as it gets listening to us talk sometimes, our students probably feel the same way if we're talking for a long period of time. So throwing in some of those active learning kind of things can make it fun and engaging for them. So next week, we're doing Breakout with Google Tools. That's on Friday, June 5th. I hope to see you all here. Also on Thursday, if any of you are interested in an introduction to Play-Doh, at noon on Thursday, we will have David Disco from Edmentum presenting a webinar on Introduction to Play-Doh. It's an if you're not familiar with it, it's an online program that has a variety of different subjects to enroll your students in and allow them to study that way. So come join us on Thursday, June 4th for Intro to Plato. And on Monday, June 8th, our next one on Monday will be with Mariah, who's moderating today. And Mariah is going to be presenting Creating an Online Presence in Online Learning. So that should be really interesting. Come check it out. It's at noon on Monday, June 8th. And we are working hard to put together an entire month full of webinars for you. So hopefully we'll have the ability to let you check in and see what's coming up here real soon. So thank you so much for attending today, and we hope to see you again next week.
All right, thank you, Kristen. And we are going to sign off. Remember, if you have any questions at all, feel free to contact myself or Kristen with any additional help that you may need.